In the 13th century, when Japan was torn by warfare and suffering, a young monk made a revolutionary discovery that would transform the way people understood their own potential. This monk, known as Nichiren Daishonin, found within an ancient Buddhist text called the Lotus Sutra a teaching so profound that it promised something almost unimaginable. Every person, regardless of their circumstances, possessed an unshakable core of enlightenment within themselves. The Lotus Sutra speaks of this truth in simple yet powerful language. All people equally have the Buddha nature. This means that the same wisdom, compassion, and strength that Buddha himself possessed exists within every human being right now, waiting to be awakened. Unlike many spiritual teachings that suggest enlightenment is only possible after years of study or in some future lifetime, Nichiren Buddhism declares that this transformation can happen today, in this very life, through a practice as simple as chanting 5 sacred words. Those 5 words are Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which carry within them the essence of the entire Lotus Sutra. When Nichiren first began chanting these words at dawn on April 28, 1253, he was making a bold statement about human potential. Nam means devotion or dedication, while Myoho Renge Kyo represents the wonderful law of cause and effect that governs both our inner lives and the universe itself. Together, these syllables create a sound that resonates with the fundamental rhythm of life. The practice of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo works much like tuning a musical instrument. Just as a guitar string vibrates at its natural frequency when struck, our Buddha nature begins to vibrate and strengthen when we chant. This isn't magic or superstition, but rather a practical method for accessing the courage, wisdom, and compassion that already exist within us. Nichiren wrote, "When we revere Myoho Renge Kyo inherent in our own life as the object of devotion, the Buddha nature within us is summoned forth. This summoning forth of our Buddha nature brings immediate benefits to daily life. People who practice Nichiren Buddhism often report increased confidence when facing challenges, clearer thinking when making decisions, and a growing sense of compassion for others. These aren't supernatural phenomena, but natural results of connecting with our deepest wisdom. As the Lotus Sutra teaches, the Buddha's wisdom is infinitely deep and immeasurable, and this same wisdom lives within each of us. The transformation that occurs through chanting goes beyond personal benefits." Nichiren understood that individual happiness and social peace are inseparably connected. He wrote, "If you want to understand what results will come in the future, look at the causes that exist in the present." This principle of cause and effect means that when we change our inner state through practice, we naturally begin to create positive effects in our families, communities, and the wider world. During his lifetime, Nichiren faced persecution from both religious and political authorities, precisely because his teachings challenged the accepted social order. He insisted that all people, not just priests or nobility, could achieve enlightenment. He criticized corrupt religious practices that kept people dependent and powerless. Most radically, he declared that ordinary people living ordinary lives could become Buddhas without leaving their homes or abandoning their responsibilities. The Lotus Sutra supports this revolutionary view with the story of the Dragon King's daughter, who achieved enlightenment instantly despite being young, female, and from a species that traditional Buddhism considered incapable of Buddhahood. This story illustrates that enlightenment doesn't depend on our external circumstances, but on recognizing and developing the Buddha nature within us. As the sutra states, "Among the teachings I have preached, now preach, and will preach, this Lotus Sutra is the most difficult to believe and the most difficult to understand." What makes the Lotus Sutra so difficult to believe is its radical optimism about human potential. Most spiritual traditions suggest that suffering is inevitable and that the best we can hope for is to endure it gracefully. The Lotus Sutra, however, teaches that suffering can be transformed into joy, weakness into strength, and despair into hope through awakening our Buddha nature. This doesn't mean problems disappear, but that we develop the inner resources to meet any challenge with wisdom and courage. Nichiren emphasized that this transformation must be demonstrated through action in the real world. He wrote, "Buddhism is like the body, and society like the shadow. When the body bends, the shadow also bends." This means that as we develop our Buddha nature through practice, we naturally begin to contribute to creating a more compassionate and just society. We don't retreat from the world, but engage with it more fully, bringing the wisdom and compassion of our practice to bear on whatever situation we encounter. The practice of studying the Lotus Sutra alongside chanting deepens our understanding of these principles. The sutra is filled with stories and parables that illuminate different aspects of our Buddha nature and its expression in daily life. One famous parable tells of a man who sews a precious jewel into his friend's robe while the friend sleeps. The friend wanders through life in poverty, unaware of the treasure he carries. Only when he meets his benefactor again does he discover the jewel and realize his inherent wealth. Similarly, we each carry the jewel of Buddha nature within us, often unaware of its presence until we begin to practice. Another powerful teaching from the Lotus Sutra is the concept of the treasure tower, which represents the dignity and worth inherent in every human life. The sutra describes this tower as appearing whenever the Lotus Sutra is taught, symbolizing that Buddha nature manifests wherever people genuinely seek to understand and express their highest potential. Nichiren taught that we can see the treasure tower in our own lives when we recognize the precious nature of our existence and dedicate ourselves to developing our innate wisdom and compassion. The social implications of these teachings are profound. If every person possesses Buddha nature, then every person deserves respect, opportunity, and support to develop their potential. This understanding naturally leads to concern for education, peace, and social justice. Nichiren himself demonstrated this connection by speaking out against corruption and injustice. Even when doing so brought him persecution and exile. Modern practitioners of Nichiren Buddhism continue this tradition of engaged spirituality. Around the world, people who chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo are involved in education initiatives, environmental protection, peace building, and community development. They understand that personal transformation and social transformation are two sides of the same coin. As we develop our Buddha nature, we naturally want to create conditions where others can develop theirs as well. The daily practice of chanting creates a foundation of inner strength that supports this active engagement with the world. Many practitioners describe chanting as a kind of spiritual exercise that builds confidence and clarity. Just as physical exercise strengthens the body, chanting strengthens what we might call our spiritual muscles, our ability to remain hopeful in difficulty, to see possibilities where others see only problems, and to persist in positive action even when results aren't immediately visible. Nichiren wrote, "A sword will be useless in the hands of a coward. The mighty sword of the Lotus Sutra must be wielded by one courageous in faith." This courage isn't the absence of fear, but the determination to act in alignment with our highest values, despite fear. Through chanting and studying, we develop this kind of courage naturally. We begin to trust in our Buddha nature's ability to guide us toward wise action. The practice also develops what Buddhists call compassion, which is different from mere sympathy. Sympathy feels sorry for others, suffering, while compassion acts to address the causes of suffering. When we awaken our Buddha nature, we develop the wisdom to see the root causes of problems and the courage to work toward fundamental solutions. This might involve everything from helping a neighbor in need to advocating for policy changes that address systemic injustices. The Lotus Sutra teaches that this compassionate action is not a burden, but a natural expression of our enlightened state. The sutra describes bodhisattvas, beings dedicated to helping others achieve enlightenment, as emerging from the earth with joy and enthusiasm. They don't reluctantly agree to help but eagerly embrace their mission. Similarly, When we connect with our Buddha nature through practice, we find that contributing to others, happiness becomes a source of our own fulfillment. This understanding transforms how we approach daily challenges. Instead of seeing problems as obstacles to our happiness, we begin to see them as opportunities to strengthen and express our Buddha nature. A difficult relationship becomes a chance to develop patience and understanding. A work challenge becomes an opportunity to demonstrate creativity and persistence. Financial struggles become occasions to practice gratitude for what we have, while working wisely toward greater stability. Nichiren taught that this transformation of perspective is itself a form of enlightenment. He wrote, "Winter always turns to spring. Never from ancient times on has anyone heard or seen of winter turning back to autumn. This natural law applies to our inner seasons as well. No matter how dark or difficult our current circumstances, the spring of our Buddha nature will inevitably emerge if we continue to practice with faith and determination." The global spread of Nichiren Buddhism demonstrates the universal appeal of these teachings. People from every culture and background find that chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo helps them access their inner strength and wisdom. The practice doesn't require abandoning one's cultural identity or existing beliefs, but rather provides a foundation for developing one's highest human qualities within any context. This universality reflects the Lotus Sutra's central message that Buddha nature transcends all artificial divisions between people. The sutra teaches that enlightenment is not the privilege of any particular group, but the birthright of all human beings. As Nichiren declared, there should be no discrimination among those who propagate the 5 characters of Myoho Renge Kyo in the latter day of the law, be they men or women. This equality extends beyond gender to include all distinctions of race, class, education, or any other category that might divide people. Today's practitioners carry forward this vision of fundamental human equality through their daily actions and their commitment to creating what many call a, quote, culture of peace. This culture emerges naturally when increasing numbers of people connect with their Buddha nature and express it through compassionate action. Rather than competing for limited resources, people begin to collaborate in creating abundance. Rather than fearing differences, they celebrate diversity as a source of strength and learning. The practice of Nichiren Buddhism thus offers both a personal path to fulfillment and a blueprint for social transformation. Through the simple act of chanting Nam-myoho Renge Kyo with sincere seeking spirit, we can awaken the wisdom and compassion needed to create positive change in our own lives and contribute to the happiness of others. This is not a distant goal requiring years of preparation, but a present possibility available to anyone willing to embrace the profound teaching of the Lotus Sutra, that within each human heart lies the seed of enlightenment, waiting only for the right conditions to bloom into full flower of wisdom, courage, and boundless compassion for all life.